Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Keto Kelly coming in. Today I have chosen one of y'all's comfort foods. Now, I had a couple of people put in some things that they really liked and missed. Some of those things I have already done videos on. One was sushi. I've done a video on sushi. I've also, mac and cheese was one of those comfort foods. Now, unless you do or can find like a low carb pasta, the only real substitute that gives you kind of that mac and cheese flair is probably cauliflower. I don't know if anybody's tried to use like a daikon radish or anything like that, but then you're looking more into like a potato feel, not necessarily a noodle feel. The one I chose was chicken and dumplings. So let me start by getting the chicken part of the chicken and dumplings ready. I bought some rotisserie chicken from Costco and I froze it. This one's been thawing, so it is completely thawed out. On my stove, I have a pot of about 1.5 quarts of water. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut the chicken open. And I've always really liked the rotisserie chicken for this application, to make like a chicken broth or chicken bone broth or any kind of chicken stew or soups or anything like that, because it has an amazing flavor. You can use just regular chicken, raw chicken, boil it, whatever chicken you prefer, you can do this, but this is the one I prefer here. So let's get this into the water. Oh, it's a little full, so I may have to take some water off. But, all right, we're going to get that going. I am going to add, you know what, let me take some water off first. Okay, I took just a little bit off. I don't know if you guys can see how much is in there. This pot, I'm not entirely sure what size this pot is, but that rotisserie chicken fits in there right nice. And I'm probably about an inch, 1.25 inches from the top of the pot, so. Okay, let me tell you what I'm getting ready to put in there. And let me grab my spoon. My 1 tablespoon was in the dishwasher. Okay, so this actually has directions on how much you should use. And for 1 cup, it's 1 tablespoon. Now, I already have the flavor of the chicken in there. Plus, this is a lot of sodium in this too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with about 2 tablespoons. I'm also going to put some pepper in there. And as always, guys, season your stuff to your taste. This is to my taste. I have some sea salt. Now, because I use the bouillon, I'm not going to put a lot of sea salt. It's going to look like a lot, but it's not, because it's the thicker grained. So I'm going to sprinkle a little bit in there. Poultry seasoning, use this sparingly. A little bit of that. A little bit of celery salt. Again, be careful with your salt. A little squirt of that. A little bit of garlic powder. And about, which I need to get some more, some bay leaves. So I'll put about, let's see, what sizes? 2, 3, about 3 medium-sized bay leaves. I'm gonna let that boil for a little while, quite a while actually. I'll probably let that boil for about 2-3 hours, maybe 2. And then when I come in, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull out what bones I can pull out of it. So all I have in there is just the chicken. I am going to add probably 4 to 6 of the baby carrots chopped, and probably 1 to 1.5 stalks of celery chopped. So when that gets to that point, I'll come back in. Okay, guys. This has literally only been boiling for like 30 minutes and it already smells amazing. I love the smell of rotisserie chicken boiling. Let me turn you around and show you what this looks like already. All right, guys, look at this. Oh, the broth smells amazing. The chicken obviously is going to pull away from the bones a lot sooner than if you would use like a raw chicken, because it's already cooked. But this broth already looks so rich without fogging up the camera lens. Looks amazing. Smells amazing too. I cannot wait. So I'm going to let it boil for maybe another 30 minutes, and then I'm going to just go ahead and chop up probably 5 to 6 of the baby carrots, and about a stalk and a half of the celery, and go ahead and add it to it so those get nice and soft while it's boiling. And then we're going to jump in to try to make these dumplings. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, I haven't done it. I'm winging it, guys, so hang on for that. Okay guys, I'm also going to use just a little bit of a white onion in there as well. You don't have to. Onions do have carbs, so do carrots. But the baby carrots are a lot, I guess depending on how much you use. I will absolutely try to include all the macros into this video to let you know what the breakdown is. But I will also be adding just a little bit of white onion. The chicken has been boiling for just about an hour. I added some more water to it because after an hour it starts to evaporate a little bit. I'm going to taste the broth and see if I need to add any more chicken bouillon to it. So let's give it a little stir. This is going to be blasting hot. That is actually quite nice. Now, carrot, celery, and onion, also known as mirepoix. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in. And as you saw, I cut up 6 of the baby carrots, 2 small pieces of celery stalk, more of the inner, because it's not as bitter and tough as the outer part of the celery. So I used 2 smaller stalks of the inner part of the celery stalk. And about, not that much onion. Maybe a quarter of a white onion. So I'm going to let this boil down a little bit more to get soft. And as that is boiling, I don't know if I want to start picking the bones out or not. I probably could start picking the bigger ones out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, show you the end result of that. A lot of the stuff that I picked out were the bigger bones. Some was like the neck bones and some of the rib bones. There is still some meat on this. I'm going to let it cool and I'm going to pick through it and put the meat back in. And I will also go back through that again to see if there are any more small like rib bones or neck bones that are still in there. But for right now, I'm just going to let it boil for a little bit longer. And then we're going to try to make these dumplings, you guys. My hope is, I don't want to thicken this broth. My hope is that the dumplings will give it a thickness. I don't want it to be like a stew or like a gravy in it. I still want it to have some looseness to it. And with the hopes that the dumplings will give it a little bit of a thickness. So, all right, hang on. It is that time. I have picked through that a little bit more. I picked over the bones over here on this plate. Got all the meat off those. I kept the majority of the skin in there because that gives it a really good flavor. And I don't mind the skin, you guys. If you don't want the skin in there, just pick it out. All right, so let's jump into making these dumplings. All right, this has been on a low simmer for just about 40 minutes. So it's been nearly 2 hours since this has started. And I've turned the heat back up because I want a nice rolling boil in my broth. So when I spoon the dumplings in, they'll cook. They're not just sit in the hot broth. So I've turned this back up to about a 7.5. It's starting to come back to a boil. These are the ingredients I am going to use. Now, you could buy Carb Quick. I'm not familiar with it. I've never used it before. You could use that for a dumpling. You could use whatever keto-fied flour that you like. I am choosing to use lupin flour. I am also thinking I might add a little bit of psyllium husk powder to it and some Vital Wheat gluten to get that gluten-y, what you would if you had, you know, regular flour, the gluten in a regular flour. So the recipe I wrote down, instead of milk, I put half and half, but I don't have any half and half. I do, however, have some buttermilk that I have cut with water. So use a half a cup of half and half. I mean, you could use milk if you want, I guess. It's not a lot. I've taken a quarter cup of buttermilk and a quarter cup of water to get my half a cup here. And you're going to need baking powder, sweetener, salt, cold butter, because you want to break it into it, some cold butter, and that's it. So let's get to it. Okay, let's jump right in. Let's get 1 cup of lupin flour. And I am going to use a sifter. You don't have to, I choose to. 1 cup of lupin flour. Here's the baking powder I'm going to be using. It calls for 2 teaspoons. So here's a teaspoon here. 1. 2. 2 tablespoons of the Vital Wheat gluten. 1 and 2, and I think I'm going to use just a little bit of the psyllium husk, not quite a full tablespoon. There we go. And I think that, let's do, actually I'll go ahead and sift this out and then I'll do the salt, because I don't think the salt is going to go through this. There we go. Use my pink Himalayan salt, and it's a half a teaspoon. Half a teaspoon of salt. Put just a little bit more in there. And a teaspoon of sweetener. I use the pure sweetener. And I'm probably not going to use a whole teaspoon. So let's put that. I have my fork here. And let's break up the butter. You want cold butter because you want to kind of work it into that. You're going to have to get your fingers dirty here, guys. All right, let's roll up our sleeves. You're going to want to work it into it like a pie crust. This is how pie crusts are made. Just break it up in there. Okay, so that was 1 tablespoon of cold butter. And now, let's pour in this. Get to working it. Seems a little dry, so I'm going to add a little bit more water. Oh, guys, let's hope this works. Okay. All right. Let's move over to the broth. All right, let's give it a try. I want to just try one. See how that works. You know what? Let's do a couple. These are going to be little teeny tiny. I could probably turn that boil down a little bit. But we're going to let them boil. They are puffing up. Wow. Yeah. They are puffing up, guys. Look at that. Guys, I'm going to jump in at this point because at this point I should have stopped. I should have stopped. But I kept going. So, hang in there. Can you see how they puffed up? Nice. Maybe I'll throw a couple more in there. You know what? Screw it. Let's put them all in there. Bad mistake. Big mistake. I did turn the heat down to about a 5. All right, let's hope this works. See a bone. See a bone. So at this point, looks like all is going well, right? They puffed up nicely. They look like dumplings. I honestly don't know if the Vital Wheat gluten is going to hold them together. I do want to make sure that they cook through thoroughly. Some of them are breaking apart. I mean, if all else fails, we'll just have chicken soup. Right? Alright guys, here is a small sampling of it. It's super hot. I'm going to wait till it cools down a little. Here is the dumpling. It seems to have some solidity to it, although, not like a regular dumpling. It's falling apart a lot easier than I think I hoped, only because it doesn't have the gluten in it that normal flour would have. So if you come up with a better one, go ahead and knock it out, hit me up, and let me know how it turns out. I guess you could use like a pancake mix, like the keto or paleo pancake mix. Just make it more of a dough. Maybe I'll try that at another point. The broth itself is really good, and it did thicken up. You can't tell by this, but it did thicken up a little. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a taste and let you know how it is. You guys, so I literally just tasted these and I didn't press record. Those dumplings were a fail, a massive fail, and I got rid of them all. I threw them all out. They're in my trash, and I'm not digging through my trash to re-record that. I'm just not going to do it. They were a fail. Trust me on this. They broke apart. The broth itself did thicken up. I mean, you can still see some remnants of them in there. But my taste test did not record. They were not good. Not good. So, here's my recommendation. If you can find Carb Quick or like I think it's Birch Benders paleo, or I think Birch Benders makes a keto pancake mix as well. Maybe mix one of those up and use that instead. Or if you can come up with a different recipe, go ahead and comment below and let me know, and maybe I'll try it again. The broth itself is pretty good. The dumplings did not hold up well at all. You saw that in the other picture, and they didn't taste good. That may have something to do with the buttermilk. I'm not quite sure, but they did not hold up well. They broke apart, so the gluten isn't there. I don't know. But, all right, guys, I will go ahead and give me another challenge. This was a challenge for me, guys. I didn't even try it. This is legit. The first time I've tried this, so go ahead and hit in the comments below and give me another challenge. I mean, macaroni and cheese was a decent challenge. A lot of people use cauliflower. I've done sushi, but I'm gonna end this video, and I'll go ahead and show you guys my morning weight. But, I mean, the broth was good. And if you just want to set some broth aside and try it, go ahead and try it. Just let me know how it turns out, guys. All right, I love you so much, and I will see you next week.